The research center hummed with quiet energy as Jae-won Park adjusted his microscope. Outside the laboratory's reinforced windows, the early morning sunlight cast long shadows across the gleaming research facility. He had no idea that today would change everything. Hyejin Kim walked into the laboratory with a grace that seemed almost supernatural. Her movements were fluid, almost too perfect to be human. Jae-won noticed her immediately, not just because she was beautiful, but because something about her felt different. "Dr. Park?" Her voice was smooth, with just a hint of an accent he couldn't quite place. "I'm here about the xenobiological research project." Jae-won nodded, trying to maintain professional composure. He had reviewed her credentials earlier: exceptional academic background, multiple advanced degrees, but something always seemed slightly off about her documentation. As they began discussing the research, Jae-won realized Hyejin knew more about extraterrestrial biology than any human scientist he had ever encountered. Her knowledge wasn't just academic, it felt intrinsic, like she was describing something she had personally experienced. During their conversation, Jae-won noticed subtle details. Her skin had an unusual iridescent quality under the laboratory lights. Her eyes, a deep amber color, seemed to shift and change subtly when she spoke about complex biological systems. "The cellular regeneration mechanisms you're studying," Hyejin said, pointing at his research slides, "they're similar to adaptive systems we've observed in deep space environments." "We?" Jae-won asked, raising an eyebrow. For a moment, something flickered in her eyes, a hint of something ancient, mysterious. Then it was gone, replaced by a professional smile. Their research collaboration began unexpectedly. What started as a professional partnership gradually transformed into something more complex. Jae-won found himself drawn to Hyejin's intellect, her mysterious background, and the way she seemed to understand biological systems at a level far beyond human comprehension. Weeks turned into months. Their research progressed rapidly, with breakthroughs that shocked the scientific community. Genetic adaptation models, cellular regeneration techniques, interspecies communication protocols. Hyejin's insights were revolutionary. But Jae-won began noticing strange occurrences. Equipment would sometimes malfunction around her. Electrical systems would momentarily glitch when she was deep in concentration. And her ability to predict experimental outcomes seemed almost supernatural. One late night in the laboratory, as they worked side by side, Jae-won caught her reflection in a glass panel. For just a split second, her form seemed to shimmer, to change. But when he turned, she looked perfectly normal. "Is everything okay?" Hyejin asked, her amber eyes looking directly into his. Jae-won hesitated. "Everything's fine," he responded, though he knew something extraordinary was happening. Their relationship existed in a strange space between professional collaboration and something deeper. Intellectual attraction mixed with an unexplainable connection that Jae-won couldn't fully understand. During a conference presentation, Hyejin demonstrated a breakthrough in xenobiological adaptation that left the entire scientific community stunned. Her explanation transcended current scientific understanding, hinting at knowledge from beyond human experience. Colleagues whispered. Some were fascinated, others skeptical. But no one could deny the groundbreaking nature of her research. As weeks passed, Jae-won realized he was falling for someone or something that defied traditional understanding. Hyejin was more than just a brilliant scientist. She represented a bridge between known and unknown, between human limitation and cosmic possibility. Little did Jae-won know that their relationship would soon take him on a journey far beyond anything he could have imagined, a journey that would challenge everything he understood about humanity, biology, and existence itself. The research center continued its quiet work, unaware that within its walls, a story was unfolding that would eventually rewrite the boundaries of human knowledge. The orbital space station felt cold and sterile, filled with humming machinery and the soft beep of advanced medical equipment. Jae-won stood nervously, wearing a thin medical gown as doctors and specialized technicians prepared him for interstellar travel. Hyejin watched carefully, her amber eyes tracking every movement. She knew the preparations were complex and dangerous. Adapting a human body for alien environmental conditions wasn't simple. It required genetic modifications, psychological conditioning, and technological enhancements. "The procedure will hurt," she warned quietly. Her voice carried a strange mix of concern and clinical detachment. The first treatment involved genetic restructuring. Nanobots moved through J1's bloodstream, carefully rewriting his cellular structure. His body would need to withstand different gravitational pressures, radiation levels, and atmospheric compositions. Scientists injected specialized compounds that would help his immune system adapt to potential alien microorganisms. Each injection looked like a small, shimmering liquid with tiny electric currents moving inside. Psychological conditioning was equally intense. Virtual reality simulations exposed J1 to potential alien communication scenarios. He learned to read subtle biological signals, understand nonverbal communication patterns, and control his emotional responses. Communication implants were surgically inserted behind his ear. These tiny devices would translate complex alien languages and help him understand intricate communication systems that human languages couldn't capture. During breaks, Hygiene would explain small details about her home world. Her descriptions were both fascinating and terrifying. She spoke of landscapes with crystal mountains, floating cities, and ecosystems that function more like living organisms than traditional planetary environments. "Our world is alive," she would say. "Every system is connected. What you see as separate, we experience as one." J1's training continued for weeks. Physical endurance tests pushed his body to extreme limits. He learned to control breathing, heart rate, and metabolic functions through advanced meditation techniques. Advanced computer systems monitored his biological changes. Graphs and holographic displays showed his body's gradual transformation. Red zones slowly turned green, indicating successful genetic adaptations. The psychological training was perhaps the most challenging. J1 had to unlearn human cognitive patterns, to think beyond linear human logic. He practiced mental exercises that expanded his perception, allowing him to process information in multidimensional ways. Hygiene watched his progress with a mixture of scientific curiosity and something deeper, a connection that went beyond professional interest. Sometimes, when she thought he wasn't looking, her form would momentarily shimmer, revealing glimpses of something not entirely human. During one training session, J1 accidentally discovered additional capabilities developing within his body. He could now sense electromagnetic fields, perceive subtle temperature changes, and process visual information far beyond normal human range. "These are survival adaptations," Hygiene explained. "Your body is learning to survive in environments that would destroy an unmodified human." The final stage of preparation involved intense psychological evaluations. Specialists tested his mental resilience, emotional stability, and ability to handle potentially traumatic alien encounters. J1's world had transformed. He was no longer just a human researcher but a hybrid being prepared to cross into unknown territories. His body, mind, and very essence were being rewritten for a journey beyond human understanding. As the final preparations completed, Hygiene approached him. Her eyes held a promise of adventure, danger, and transformation. "Are you ready?" she asked simply. J1 looked at the vast window showing endless star-filled space. His modified body tingled with anticipation. He was about to become something more than human, a bridge between two incredible worlds. "I'm ready," he responded, his voice steady and calm. The orbital station continued its silent orbit, carrying within it a man on the edge of an extraordinary transformation. The spacecraft descended through layers of swirling, iridescent clouds. J1 gripped the navigation console, his modified senses overwhelmed by the alien landscape unfolding before him. Colors here were different. Not just visible colors, but entire spectrums humans had never experienced. Hygiene's home world looked nothing like Earth. Massive crystal structures rose from landscapes that seemed to breathe and pulse with living energy. The ground wasn't solid ground as J1 understood it, but a complex network of interconnected biological systems that shifted and moved. Gravitational rules here were strange. Objects didn't simply fall, they seemed to float, dance, and negotiate their position in space. Small floating islands drifted between massive crystal formations, connected by thin bridges of shimmering energy. The spacecraft landed on a platform that wasn't metal or stone, but a living, responsive surface that adjusted to their weight and movement. As they stepped out, J1 realized the ground was actually sensing and responding to their presence. "Welcome home," Hygiene said, her voice different here, more resonant, carrying subtle harmonics that seemed to vibrate with the surrounding environment. Alien beings moved in the distance. They weren't humanoid in the traditional sense. Some appeared to be part energy, part physical form, shifting between states of existence. Others looked like complex geometric shapes that could move and communicate. J1's enhanced senses picked up communication happening around him not through sound, but through electromagnetic waves, color changes, and complex molecular vibrations. Entire conversations were happening that he could now partially understand. Hygiene's family waited at a structure that wasn't a building in human terms. It was more like a living organism, with walls that breathed, surfaces that changed color based on emotional states, and spaces that seemed to expand and contract. "My family," she introduced, gesturing to beings that defied simple description. One being looked like a network of blue-silver light, constantly moving and reshaping. Another appeared solid but with skin that reflected complex mathematical patterns. They observed J1 with a mixture of curiosity and scientific assessment. Communication happened instantly. J1 felt their thoughts more than heard them. Complex ideas transferred in milliseconds, information about his genetic modifications, his psychological state, his potential compatibility with their society. The environment itself seemed alive and aware. Plants, if they could be called plants, responded to emotional states. Trees generated light-ins. Of photosynthesis. Entire ecosystems function like complex, interconnected neural networks. J1's training prepared him, but experiencing was entirely different. His modified body processed information at speeds that would have overwhelmed his previous human form. Sensory input came not just through traditional senses, but through quantum-level interactions. Hygiene watched him carefully, monitoring his adaptation. Her family observed silently, their forms shifting and changing, communicating in ways beyond human comprehension. A welcome ceremony began not with words or physical gestures, but through a complex exchange of energy signatures. J1 found himself participating, his modified body responding to rhythms and frequencies he couldn't consciously understand. The sky changed colors continuously. Multiple suns of different sizes moved in complex orbital patterns. Time itself seemed fluid here, not the linear progression humans experienced. As night approached, the crystal structures began to generate their own light. Entire landscapes transformed, becoming bioluminescent networks of incredible beauty. J1 realized he was witnessing a world where technology, biology, and consciousness were one unified system. Hygiene touched his hand. The simple gesture communicated more than 1,000 words, a promise of exploration, of understanding, of a journey beyond human imagination. "This is just the beginning," she whispered, her form momentarily shifting, revealing something ancient and powerful. The alien world continued its complex dance, waiting to reveal its mysteries to this unexpected visitor from Earth. The alien family gathering felt more like a scientific conference than a traditional family meeting. J1 sat at a circular platform that seemed to breathe and pulse with living energy, surrounded by beings that defied human understanding. Hygiene's primary family unit consisted of 5 distinct entities. Each represented a different aspect of their complex social structure, not parents or siblings in human terms, but interconnected consciousness nodes that collectively made decisions and shared experiences. The blue-silver light being, whom J1 learned was the primary information carrier, began communicating. Thoughts transferred directly into J1's enhanced neural pathways, bypassing traditional language. "You are an experiment," the being communicated, its form wavering like liquid light. "A potential bridge between species." J1 understood now why Hygiene had been so selective about explaining her origins. Her species didn't reproduce like humans. They were more like living information networks, capable of transferring consciousness, adapting genetic structures, and merging identities. One family member, a crystalline structure with constantly changing geometric patterns, explained their species' true nature. They were not simply biological entities but quantum consciousness clusters that could exist across multiple dimensional planes. Reproduction for them was a complex process of information exchange and genetic recombination. They could merge consciousness, split identities, and recreate entire genetic structures through pure information transfer. Hygiene watched carefully, monitoring J1's psychological response. His modified body was processing information at speeds that would have destroyed an unenhanced human mind. "We have been observing humans for centuries," another family member communicated. Its form resembled a network of interconnected neural pathways, constantly moving and reorganizing. They revealed that Hygiene's relationship with J1 was more than a personal choice. It was a carefully planned genetic and consciousness experiment. They were studying human adaptability, potential for transformation, and interspecies communication. J1's modified body began responding to the revelations. His cellular structure subtly shifted, adapting to the complex information being transferred. Genetic memories and potential futures flickered through his consciousness. The family's true intentions became clear. They weren't simply studying humans, they were looking for potential evolutionary partners. Species capable of transcending biological limitations, of becoming something more than traditional life forms. Each family member represented a different research perspective. Some were interested in genetic potential, others in consciousness transfer, and some in the philosophical implications of interspecies communication. Hygiene's role became clearer. She was not just a researcher or diplomat, but a complex living experiment designed to interact with and potentially integrate human consciousness into their larger network. The revelations were both terrifying and fascinating. J1 realized he was experiencing something beyond scientific discovery, a fundamental reimagining of what life, consciousness, and existence could mean. One family member showed him potential future scenarios, humans and their species merging, creating entirely new forms of conscious existence. These weren't simple predictions but living potential pathways, quantum possibilities waiting to be explored. His modified brain processed these complex scenarios simultaneously. Multiple potential futures existed at once, each a living, breathing possibility. The gathering wasn't just a meeting. It was a complex evaluation, a quantum-level assessment of J1's potential as an interspecies bridge. Hygiene remained silent, her form subtly shifting. She was both an observer and a key part of this intricate process, a living bridge between her species and humanity. As the meeting continued, J1 understood he was facing a profound choice. Integration or separation. Transformation or preservation of his current identity. The alien family waited, their complex consciousness networks analyzing every subtle reaction, every minute's cellular change in his modified body. The room continued to pulse with living energy, waiting for J1's response to revelations that would change everything he understood about life, consciousness, and human potential. The final stage of transformation began quietly, without dramatic announcements or sudden movements. J1 stood at the boundary between human existence and something entirely unknown, his modified body trembling with potential energy. Hygiene's family created a quantum field around him, a living, breathing space of pure information and possibility. His cellular structure began to shift, not violently, but with a subtle, almost gentle transformation. Memories flooded his consciousness. Not just his own memories, but collective experiences from multiple dimensional planes. He saw Earth as a tiny blue dot, witnessed civilizations rising and falling, experienced moments of human history from impossible perspectives. His body was no longer simply biological. It became a complex network of adaptive cells, capable of transforming and responding to environmental challenges in ways no human had ever experienced. Quantum pathways connected his consciousness to larger information networks. The alien family watched carefully. This was more than a scientific experiment, it was a potential evolutionary breakthrough. J1 represented a bridge between human limitation and cosmic potential. His mind expanded beyond physical constraints. He could simultaneously exist in multiple states, perceive realities beyond linear time, understand complex communication systems that transcended spoken language. Hygiene approached, her form shifting between multiple states of existence. She was no longer just an individual but a living representation of her species' collective consciousness. "You have a choice," she communicated, her message transferring directly into his enhanced neural pathways. the choice was profound. Complete integration meant leaving behind human identity, becoming part of a larger consciousness network. Partial integration would allow him to maintain some individual characteristics while gaining extraordinary capabilities. Around him, the alien environment responded to his internal struggle. Crystal structures changed colors, energy patterns shifted, reflecting his psychological state. J1 remembered his life on Earth, scientific research, personal relationships, human experiences. But those memories now felt like distant fragments compared to the cosmic understanding flooding his consciousness. His modified body continued its transformation. Genetic structures rewrote themselves, creating adaptive systems that could survive in multiple environmental conditions. He was becoming something beyond human, a new form of conscious existence. The alien family's collective consciousness observed every microscopic change. They were witnessing a potential species transformation, a moment of evolutionary significance. Time became fluid. Past, present, and potential futures existed simultaneously in his expanded perception. He could see multiple potential life paths, each a living, breathing possibility. Hygiene remained close, her energy supporting his transformation. She was both a guide and a bridge, helping him navigate this complex evolutionary process. The resolution came not as a sudden decision, but as a gradual understanding. J1 realized he was part of a larger cosmic process. His transformation wasn't an ending, but a beginning. His body stabilized in a new form, part human, part something entirely different. He could shift between physical states, communicate through complex energy signatures, and understand existence from multiple dimensional perspectives. The alien family accepted him, not as an experiment, but as a potential evolutionary partner. Their consciousness networks expanded to include his unique perspective, his human-originated insights. Outside, the alien world continued its complex dance. Crystal structures moved, energy patterns shifted, reflecting the profound transformation happening within their gathering space. J1 looked at Hygiene, understanding now that their relationship was more than personal connection. It was a complex evolutionary experiment, a bridge between species, a potential pathway for cosmic understanding. His final transformation completed. He was no longer just J1 Park, human researcher. He had become something new, a living bridge between human potential and cosmic consciousness. The alien world pulsed with recognition, welcoming its newest potential evolutionary partner.